Hi friends, welcome back to Premo Cooks. I'm Danielle Premo. Today I am ecstatic to show you how to make my 5-star red lentil soup. If you stick around till the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the story about how this soup came about because it's real cute. And I will also give you nutritional tidbits and other odds and ends to make this recipe usable for you at home. For now, follow me over here to this cutting board and we'll fly through this veg prep. Vegetables are prepped. Just to review what we have done so far with the veggies, we have 1 large onion diced, 3 carrots diced, 1 bunch of charred, the stems removed and diced, and all of the greens roughly chopped. Right here, I have my pan hot. I already melted 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. And what I want next is to add my onions. With the onions, we're gonna add 3 teaspoons of salt. That might sound like a lot, but it's not because we're making a big batch of red lentil soup and that salt's gonna get lost real easy. We might even add more at the end. I'm gonna stir the salt in here and let them simmer for 2 to 3 minutes, not long. Then we will be adding in the carrots and the charred stems for another few minutes of simmering. Let's do a little dance. Just waiting for the onions. And we've had a couple minutes of simmering these onions. Now let's add charred and carrots. Additionally, we're going to add a wee bit of umami flavors into here with my favorite ingredient, tamari. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons, and as always, I will be eyeballing 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Perfect. The onions, charred stems, and carrots have simmered in the salt and coconut oil and tamari a wee bit. Now we are going to add spices. We have a fun blend here, slightly a curry-inspired blend, I would say. We have 3 teaspoons granulated garlic, 4 teaspoons cumin, 4 teaspoons cinnamon, and 3 teaspoons of turmeric. That is correct. I'm gonna add these in, fold them into the veg. Once the spices are evenly blended with the vegetables, then we shall add 2 cans of fire roasted tomatoes. And cans are generally, when you find them, 14.5 ounces, which is the equivalent, if you do good addition like me, just kidding, 29 ounces of fire roasted tomatoes. Or you can oftentimes find one of the big cans of 28 ounces. Either will do. 1 ounce will not make a difference. Fire roasted tomatoes. Do it slowly or you'll splatter it all over your shirt. Once evenly blended, we're gonna add our red lentils. Mix the lentils in, then pull out your kombu. This is seaweed, kelp variety. I'm gonna talk about it a tiny bit at the end of the video, so just stick around so that you know why I'm using this. And finally, last thing we're gonna add in here is the soup stock. I forgot to take it out of the refrigerator. I'll be right back. Made it back. Soup stock. I made this myself. There's a video in our how-to playlist on YouTube that you can find for how to make soup stock. We're gonna use 8 cups total today for this recipe. You generally wanna use 4 cups of liquid per cup of red lentils. 6 cups of stock. I need 2 more cups. This is about 3.5, I would guess. Usually these quart jars are 4 cups. We'll go with, that was good. That's probably a little bit more than 2. So just to confirm, 8 cups of soup stock. I'm using vegetable stock. At home, if you like, you could use chicken stock or mushroom stock. It's also really nice in this recipe. I'm gonna give it 1 stir to make sure there's nothing sticking to the bottom of the pan. Then we can turn our heat up to high and bring it to a boil. Our soup is a-boiling. Once you have a rolling boil happening, what you wanna do next is turn the temperature down to a place where you have a solid simmer. And I mean a solid simmer in the sense that you don't want it to be just one bubble here and there. You want it to still have some good bubbling going on. So I usually watch it for a second. And then what you're gonna do is leave this uncovered and you are gonna stir it occasionally. stir it occasionally. So set a timer for 30 minutes, and at that point, your lentils should be cooked through, and we'll add a few more ingredients. And just to confirm, this is a good simmer. And we're back. It has been 30 minutes. Our lentils, you can tell, are starting to fall apart. You can't even see a whole lentil anymore. The next thing we want to do is add some final ingredients. We have 1/2 cup orange juice. Let's stir this in and then give it a taste. And we are tasting it so that we can adjust the seasonings as needed. We might want to add a little bit of maple syrup for sweetness or more salt to bring all of the flavors together. The orange juice in there is so nice. Then add 1 more teaspoon of salt. And I did not specify this earlier, but this is kosher salt. And I also should really do a video just on salt, because iodized salt versus sea salt versus kosher salt, they're all very different in how they interact in food and the ultimate saltiness that comes out at the end. So for this recipe, I highly recommend kosher salt. We're gonna taste this one more time, make sure our ratios are great. Right on point, delicious. Final step, charred leaves that we chopped up earlier, dump those right in. Once you have the charred leaves folded in, you can turn the heat off. These will wilt in the temperature, the hot temperature of the soup, so that you don't need to keep it cooking. So we just want to fold these in. Oh, this also reminds me, as I'm stirring, one other step. Remove that piece of kombu seaweed that we put in there at the beginning. It's broken in half. There we go. So heat is off. We're folding in the charred leaves. Once they're evenly folded into your red lentil soup, we will then serve it up. Isn't it gorgeous? Just gorgeous. If you didn't know, I obviously love chard. I use it in a lot of my recipes because the charred stems taste like celery. The charred leaves are very mild in comparison to kale. And when you add greens into your dishes, it adds this element of color that makes everything pop. And we really do eat with our eyes first before anything else. So when your food looks beautiful, you're more inclined to be stoked on it, especially when it smells good like this does. This smells so good. Plus, eat your greens. Greens are so good for you. They are nutrient-dense foods. We all need more in our lives. Ta-da! 5-star red lentil soup. Let's serve it up. Let's admire its beauty first, and then smell it. So many good spices going on here. It's very hot. I'm afraid of burning myself. I'm gonna eat my face off. This is so good. Stick around. I shall give you tips and tricks on preparing this at home, ways you can change it up, but most importantly, my cute ass story that I have about how this recipe came to be. Cute ass, not acid. Ready? Applesauce. Before I tell you my story and tidbits about this recipe, I would like to define what a legume is. A legume is a plant that bears fruit, that grows in a pod, and that could be a bean or a lentil or a peanut or a pea. But the two things I'm going to be referring to as legumes from this point on are beans and lentils, okay? So the story of this recipe, I once upon a time used to cook for a neighbor of mine who was older. She had been a long-time vegetarian, and her naturopath wanted her to add more plant-based sources of protein into her diet, which would be legumes and beans and a variety of other things, but specifically legumes, beans, and lentils my neighbor had not been eating. And historically, she'd had a hard time digesting them, which a lot of us have a hard time digesting them. They can make us gassy or bloated, but that's usually because they're prepared in such a way that they don't use an additive that will break down the indigestible parts, which are phytic acid and sugars called oligosaccharides. Which is why I used kombu in this recipe. Kombu is magic. It's so magic. The minerals in it and the enzymes break down the phytic acids and the oligosaccharides, so it makes the beans and lentils more digestible. And the first time that I cooked for my neighbor, I made this soup for her, and she was so thrilled that she could eat it because she hadn't eaten beans or legumes in forever. And I was also equally as stoked because she was now able to add these into her diet, which will overall make her a lot healthier, because when you're vegan and vegetarian, it's pretty hard to get a complete source of protein without eating meat. And so you have to do the right combination of ingredients, which leads me to, if you are vegan or vegetarian, legumes, lentils, and beans, they're really great source of protein, but they're not a complete protein all on their own. Nutrition studies have shown that if you eat a whole grain and a lentil or bean dish within the same day, they get broken down in your body and it does its magic work and it combines all those amino acids and makes a complete protein. So don't feel stressed out about eating it all at once. You can have a brown rice dish for lunch and you could have lentils for dinner and your body's gonna make magic out of that, okay? One note is this soup is really awesome. It's way heavier and heartier than you would think it would be. It's very filling. This particular recipe serves 8 to 10 people, so you can cut it in half if you want to make a lesser amount. It stores in the fridge for up to 5 days. You can also stick it in the freezer if you want to save it for later, and it's really awesome to reheat at a future date. And lastly, why it's called 5-star red lentil soup is because the neighbor that I made this for, I had whipped some stuff up in the kitchen one day. I was being creative. This was a brand new recipe that I made up spur of the moment. I brought some over to her, and after she ate it, she called me on the phone and she just said, 5 stars, 5 stars. She was so thrilled. So ever since then, this has been called 5-star red lentil soup in her honor. So I hope you give this a try at home. It's a super awesome dish. Give it a try and let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you'd like to learn more about lentils or beans and making them from scratch, we have how-to videos on both of those. Thanks for watching. Happy cooking, friends. Hey y'all, if you didn't know, one of the best ways that you could support my husband and I doing Premo Cooks, if you like our content, would be to like, subscribe, or comment. Any of those things or all of those things would be super appreciated. Thank you for watching. It's so magic.